Hello, I'm Kayla, and this is my capstone presentation regarding the creation of my full-stack banking application. Part 1 covers the front-end architecture authentication, and here I'll start with a diagram of my app. This gives you an overview of the MERN stack that I used to create this application. I built the front end using React. I built the server using Node.js and Express.js. And I built the back end using MongoDB. I then uploaded the app to the Amazon cloud, which hosts and manages the app so that others can use it as well. So this is the flow of information that happens. The front end communicates with the server, which communicates with the database, and vice versa. This is the front end architecture of my app. All my front-end files are in a public folder. You can view the code here at my GitHub repository link. Index.html is the main HTML file. It loads Bootstrap, Google Fonts, Babel, React, React Router, and React DOM, and it loads the React components using scripts. Next, I have index.js, which you could argue is the most important file in my front end. It's the entry point for the app and provides the user context and renders the root component. When the app starts, it loads all user data using the useEffect hook, and it manages state using useState, which stores the currently logged in user. This file contains the user context provider, and it manages routing with hashrouter. Let's see, and then I have context.js, which imports the elements from React Router DOM, but it's a little confusing that I named it context because it's mostly the reusable card component from Bootstrap that handles the styling of each page. The rest of the components are quite self-explanatory. I have the navigation bar imported from Bootstrap, which allows responsive and customizable navigation. It's easily styled and adapted to different sizes of screens. I have the home page, which is the landing page, and then I have all the rest of the components here, which create the functionality of the application, except for style CSS, which is responsible for the styling. Now we'll talk about authentication, which is mainly handled in two of my components, create account and login. When a user creates an account, they enter their name, email, and password, and once they submit that information, the password is hashed. So this increases the security of the user's sensitive information being handled in my application. Here you can see a piece of code where the password is hashed. The 10 here represents the salt rounds that the password goes through. So adding salt ensures that if two users have the same password, the hashed password will still be different. And then the hashed password is saved in the database instead of the plain text. So even if the database were to be compromised by unauthorized users, they would only see the hashed password, which looks, for example, something like this down here, instead of the plain text. So this is a one-way process. If a user forgets their password, they will have to reset their password. The second authentication method I added is two-factor authentication using a time-based one-time password. When the user creates an account, they'll be prompted to scan a QR code with an authenticator app. I personally use Google Authenticator, but you could use any authenticator app you'd like. After you scan the QR code, you will have a TOTP secret that's stored in the database. And when you go to log in, you'll have to open your authentication app and enter the code that it gives you. Right now, two-factor authentication is required in my app, which I would like to change in the future because I know not every user understands this and may not know how to use an authenticator app, which may require some explanation, so I would like to make it optional, but currently it's mandatory. Up next will be part 2 of my capstone presentation that covers database and API.